What's up, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. We have a lot to talk about today. Yankees fans, they're reaching a boiling point with some of their players. The Dodgers are going to need Mookie Betts to do Mookie Betts things if they're going to come back after blowing a lead against the Giants. And Juan Soto, he is not happy with the Nationals, and he showed that again yesterday in a deleted tweet. You don't want to miss it. The second half has officially begun, and if you're going to any baseball games or concerts anytime soon, use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek to save $20 off your entire order. Now, speaking of MLB attendance, I do want to show this tweet right here. So apparently, according to a couple different experts out there, the attendance has dropped nearly 5%. Is that because everyone is afraid of a recession? Is that because the price of attendance is far too high? Or is the game of baseball simply dying? I don't think that baseball is dying. I really enjoyed myself at the All-Star Week, and I think that a lot of new fans are coming to the game of baseball, so it's not dying, but maybe the price of attendance has gotten a little bit too high, or maybe that's because the recession is a very real thing. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is happening? Alex Bregman and Corey Lee of the Astros wanted to remind the Yankees that Houston is not going anywhere anytime soon, as both of those guys driving a few runs off of Jordan Montgomery. But shout out to Jordan, he settled down after that. I think he struck out 8 over 5 or 6 innings, something like that. Now, this was all while Christian Javier was able to work around a few scary innings. He only allowed 1 earned run off the bat of DJ LeMahieu. But because 1 run scored, this hit from IKF was able to tie up the ball game after Bregman and Pena, it was kind of hitting a no man's land and they misplayed that. So this one is going to head to extras where JJ Matijevic goes almost to the same spot as IKF. No one was covering second base, so the Astros come away with yet another victory over the New York Yankees. But this was a doubleheader, so let's talk about game number 2. Let's see if the Yankees will have a better, no they won't, because Domingo Germán was on the bump. Yordan Alvarez is back. That is home run number 27 on the season. Bregman and Yordan kind of took over from there. Alex now has 12 home runs. Yordan has a 2-run double to make it 4-0 right before Breggs. He singles home Yordan to basically wrap this one up. Well, kind of, because Chas McCormick put a jolt into this one, and luckily that was a 2-run missile. And good thing that happened, because Aaron Judge hit a mammoth 3-run shot almost out of the stadium. That would have tied it up at 5 runs apiece if Chas had not done his thing. So Montero has to come in for Belak. He earns his 7th save of the year, sending New York to a 2-5 record against Houston this year. And the craziest stat, Houston has had a lead in almost every single inning that they've played against the Yankees. The Yankees have had a lead in 2 of the 64 innings they've played against the Astros. Now, I think the Yankees are a good team, but that is not a good sign. It just seems like the Astros are a mismatch. I'm not saying that Yankees fans are panicking per se, but they are sick and tired of my friend Joey Gallo, and they want to have him replaced ASAP. And that's where Juan Soto comes into the equation, because according to a few different sources, the Mets and the Yankees are both engaged right now in talks for Juan Soto, but talks are stalling because both the Yankees and the Mets are unwilling to move some of their top prospects. The Mets, Francisco Alvarez; the Yankees, Peraza and Anthony Volpe. So in my opinion, I would move those guys because Juan Soto is a solidified superstar. The guys that we just talked about, the prospects, they're exactly that, prospects. You don't know if they're going to be proven or not. Spencer Torkelson is a perfect example, a prospect, a number 1 overall pick. He was just sent down. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But Derek Jeter put out a tweet saying that loyalty pretty much can't be one-sided, and Juan Soto retweeted that. He simply put a little dot that pretty much says that he seconds that. He deleted it with the quickness, but it does send a message that he is all but checked out mentally from being a Washington National. Now remember, the Nationals offered him a contract worth $440 million. That would be about $29 million a season if it was 14 years. And unlike Bryce Harper's contract offer from the Nationals, there would be 0 deferred money. So he'd be getting $29 million for the next 14 seasons. Some fans are saying Juan Soto is ungrateful for rejecting that contract offer. And they're basically saying, how can you say loyalty is one-sided if they offered you almost $500 million? Whereas the other half is saying, hey, Juan Soto is easily worth $35+ million. So he's taking a pay cut to stay with your team, even though your team isn't very good. And the future, I don't know if it's bright per se, but I don't know if the Nationals are going to get to a World Series anytime soon. So let me know in the comments, whose side are we on? Juan Soto because he deserves more, or the Nationals because they offered him almost $500 million? In my opinion, I think that Juan Soto is worth 35. I would actually say $40+ million a season. He is essentially Ted Williams 2.0. Yes, he's got some cockiness to him, but I absolutely love that about him. I don't think that he is arrogant at all. I just think that he's really good and he knows it. And also, he makes the game of baseball a whole lot more fun to watch. And We need more players like that. So I'm all on Juan Soto's side. I hope that he gets shipped to a winning team. All right, let's get back to some of the other games from yesterday. We had a doubleheader between the Tigers and the Athletics. Robbie Grossman, he's pretty funny to me because he has been struggling all year. But the second that they recall Akil Baddoo to challenge Robbie for his spot, Robbie turns into 2021 Grossman. He drove in 2 on this double and then had another RBI double later on. And finally, I get to showcase a little bit of Tarek Skubbal's insane stuff. He allowed 1 single unearned run, but he struck out 9 over 6 brilliant innings where he only allowed 2 base hits. Candelario and Scope, they're looking to have bounce back second halves because they were both really good in 2021 and they fell off a cliff in the first half of this year. I mean, they've been borderline bad. Riley Green gets in on the action, and before we head to game number 2, because we hinted at him a little bit earlier, Spencer Torkelson, yes, he did in fact get sent down to AAA. He had a negative 1.3 WAR and a 68 OPS plus. And unlike Bobby Witt Jr. or J-Rod of the Mariners, he did not get better as the season progressed and as he got used to Major League pitching. I think he actually got worse, so this will be good for him. He can work on his fielding. He can get comfortable with the AAA level of pitching, and I think this is going to be fantastic for him, in my opinion. I think he's going to come back strong. All right, now back to the doubleheader. This one was knotted up at 0 runs all the way into the 6th inning. Then Sean Murphy peppered a baseball 450 feet to deep center field. He has 10 home runs and a 110 OPS plus as a catcher. He's also 27, which means if the A's do move on from him, they are going to get a haul. Tony Kemp ended that 5-run inning with an RBI single, and for the 14th time this year, the Tigers have been shut out. Last year, they got shut out 17 times, so hopefully they don't beat that mark. Now, speaking of shutouts, the Rangers spanked the Marlins by a tune of 8-0. Nate Lowe, an all-star snub, Jonah Heim both single in a run, and Adolis Garcia wanted to show that maybe he's not fully all-star worthy, but he should have gotten more consideration. After that RBI single and 2-run home run, he has 16 home runs, 13 stolen bases, almost 60 RBIs, and almost 5 outs above average as a defender. Like, honestly, if he can find a way to turn a few of those strikeouts into walks, he will be one of the top 30 players in Major League Baseball. It's just that his on-base skills are very iffy. John Gray continues his impressive last month and a half, shutting out the Marlins through 6. Leody Taveras, speaking of being impressive over the last month, he is proving that his mechanical changes might be here to stay. After that 2-run double, he has 13 extra base hits and 5 stolen bases and 90 at-bats this year, and he's hitting .345. Now, last but not least, even though Darren Ruff had a huge 4 RBI night for the San Francisco Giants, the Dodgers, they come away with the dub. LA jumped out to an early lead after Freddie sent one nearly 410 feet, and 3 different doubles from LA make it 5-0. Justin Turner, he's been really the only guy struggling in this lineup, so it's nice to see his bat waking up over the last few weeks. Mitch White, he was on top of his game, shutting down San Francisco for 1 hit over 5 innings. But as soon as Mitch White left the game, the Giants said thank you very much, and they unleashed their frustrations on the LA bullpen, and LA actually lost the lead momentarily. But don't worry though, Trayce Thompson, the Thompson brothers, they love triples. As you can see, there is a triple for Trayce Thompson, and we know that Clay is really good at hitting threes in the NBA. So there's on-base god Gavin Lux scoring on that triple, and Mookie Betts found the barrel on this swing as he connects on a 3-run shot, his 21st of the season. Then, when Craig Kimbrell was struggling, Mookie Betts did more Mookie Betts things. He saves it with the leather, and he saves Craig from yet another implosion. So not only do the Astros come away with a few victories on day 1 of the second half, but the Dodgers, they look just as mighty, and I really feel like we might be on a collision course for Dodgers-Astros World Series, but there's other teams that could sneak in as well because there's a lot of good teams. Now, before we get into the web gems, I want to show this little snippet from an article I found. Pablo Sandoval, you guys remember that name, the Panda? Remember that time he went to the Boston Red Sox for a pretty big contract? Well, he said that he wished he had never signed with the Red Sox, and I think that all of Boston, the city of Boston in general, would agree with Pablo because it was one of the worst contracts ever given out in Boston history. You can see that he basically said that fans sometimes forget that players are human beings and they have things going on behind the scenes, but you know, Pablo got so tubby, it's almost hard to excuse getting paid $90 million and not taking care of yourself, regardless of what's happening in your personal life. Now, I want to have some empathy because I gained a lot of weight because of stressful things I was going through, but at some point, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I have to hold myself accountable, and Boston, they for sure held him accountable. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for today's recap. Thank you all so much for watching. I know my voice is a little bit coarse and my energy is slightly low. I'm very exhausted, but I promise you guys the next few days I'll be back to normal. And without further ado, let's show the web gems.
Tennis ball to Bellinger. Nice sliding catch.
Offensively is this. A great jump on the baseball. That's a high percentile jump.
Sharply hit, gloved by Baez. What a play. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That's some awesome defense right there, isn't it?
It is, and it saves a run.
And strikeouts.
This one down the right field line. Tucker giving it a look, and he'll reach into the net and make a great catch. Netting to finish out the top half of the first.
Finally getting the recognition on the national stage.
And here's that pitch, ground ball to the left side. And there we get Duran making a nice play and taking the easy out over to first base and Nathaniel Lowe. And so there is the second out of the inning.